instead of waiting for somebody to do something to fix something that I see that I don't like, I'm just going to go fucking do it. Right. And I think that says a lot more. It will say a lot more to that rookie walking around that's being busy all fucking day, seeing another guy in rank, just go and take care of something or whatever. It's not a big deal. And that's one thing I tell my crew too, when they come into work, it's like, we're not going to bitch, man. Like if we come in, our shift starts at 7, that is our truck, that's our equipment. If it's just something that you can fix, and I tell the guys all the time, if you can fix it right then and there, we're just going to take care of it. We're not going to bitch about it. We're just going to take care of it.
All right, what's up? Relentless Rejects Podcast, episode 35. I am so honored today to bring on a Texas iPhone boy original, my man, Michael Ramirez, one of my homies, one of my tribe mates, just a great individual, awesome fireman. And we've actually never even met in person, dude, but I see your face probably every day just because we're tight like that.
Yep.
But yeah, brother, how you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Enjoying I did enjoy the false fall that we have, and now it's getting kind of hot. So, but yeah, I'm good, man. I'm doing good.
Yeah. And you're in your garage. I don't know how I couldn't do it. If I lived in Texas, man, I need air conditioning all the time.
It's, I'm making it work. I got a little fan over here. You can't see it, but it's hopefully it keeps me cool. So, but it's a lot worse in the summertime. If we did this in the summertime, I would definitely be inside.
Yeah. And is this your first podcast you ever been on?
First one ever. The only experience I've had with, I guess, being on here is when Sam interviewed me for the Vigilantes for the scrap. So other than that, first podcast. Hopefully I don't disappoint, and you'll get to know who I am.
Oh yeah, dude. Old Sam, the man behind the green curtain, the Wizard of Oz for Corley Moore. Love me some Sam.
Sam's the man. Sam is the man.
Mm-hmm. Everybody needs a Sam. I'm trying to find some type of Sam for this platform because people don't understand how much work it takes to, like, for one, you got to reach out, network, book people, put it in the calendar, set up like a recording date on the recording platform, create content leading up to it, create topics, design the style of the conversation. That's just like, that's before you even push record. So I don't know how Corley does it every week. I've been doing it pretty much weekly. But I'm dialing this shit back in January. Like, my sanity, just for my own sanity.
I don't know how any of y'all do it, to be honest. I mean, it's you, John, anybody who does a podcast. I see the amount of work that y'all put in, the time it takes, because I don't do none of that shit. And I barely have time to breathe with my wife because of our kids. I can't imagine running a podcast like you guys do. But hey, it's people are special.
Yeah. Well, it pays dividends because the amount of money that I've made on the podcast, I've made like negative $3,000, dude. So I'm living it up. I am living it up. I've had many hard conversations with my wife, who always wins every single argument. I don't know what it is. She just has a special skill in winning arguments. I don't know if your wife's that way too.
They all do. And
hell yeah, man.
We feel like, all right, my problems aren't that bad. You know what I mean? I'll let you have it.
Yeah. Well, every time in an argument, she'll bring up like 3 topics I didn't think about. Like, I wasn't prepared to answer that question, but
yeah.
Can you give me 5 minutes?
Firemen are a bunch of dumbasses. So we can't, it takes time for us to process things. And they have a own brain that they were blessed with from God that they're just so much wiser. And that's why they're a lot smarter than we are.
You know what we need to create, bro, is SOPs and firefighter rules and regulations on dealing with our wives.
What?
Because that's what we're bound to in the fire department, right? Like the fire department, hey, this violates the rules and regs. Oh, okay. I'll make sure to stay within the SOPs. But when it comes to our married life, it's like, fuck, there's no manual for this, man.
No. Not even to be a damn dad. You know what I mean? Like that is a whole different story. But that policy would be changed every hour. Yeah, for being honest.
Well, let's get into it, bro, because this podcast, we're embracing family first. And to embrace family first, we got to talk about family first. So this is your opportunity now. We've already touched on it, but like, give a shout out to the fam, like how many kids you got, when you guys met, or whatever, however much you want to divulge to the audience, man. This is the family first topic we're going to knock out right now.
All right. So I've been with my wife for 10 years. We've been married for 4 years, and we got two kids, one son and a daughter. My son's 2 years old, my little mini me, and then my daughter turned 5 months the other day. So man, we all get to come on here and do what we do, right? The things that excites us, that fulfills our souls and stuff, our careers. I think um, we don't give enough credit to our families to let us be able to do that kind of stuff. Go to conferences, be on podcasts, go to work, do what we do, all the time away from our families that we spend. It's truly a blessing, right? And I could not give any more support or respect to my wife because of all the things that she's done. We've been together for 10 years, so it's a lot has happened in those 10 years. And I've done a lot in those 10 years. Same for her, both bad and good, and it's just the length of our relationship, the meaning behind it. It's been special, man. So I truly appreciate my wife. So, and then
Yeah.
kids, it's a whole different world, right? So like not having a dad, it's and then seeing my son, like I can see what I didn't have, and since he looks just like me, I can see. It just makes it more exciting, right? And view things in a different perspective, and I can offer something to my son that I wasn't offered to. So I try to have more patience with that fact alone, right? But it's exciting. It's really exciting, man. Seeing
Yeah.
and going from us just being together by ourselves, and then now how we are as parents. It's a whole different. You see a whole different side of your person. You know what I mean? So it's been
Yeah.
pretty cool, man.
Do you think, and I don't know if this is too deep, but do you think growing up without a dad, because shout out to the No Dad Club here, do you think that gives you like a personal chip on your shoulder when it comes to raising your own kids?
Yeah, dude. It's a weird because you have a lot of people that use stuff like that to as an excuse to throw away their whatever they're doing, right? Their lives or whatever. Like, oh, I didn't have a dad, I didn't have a mom, or blah blah. I didn't have both my parents, so I've been a piece of shit, whatever. Right?
Yeah, it's their fault. It's not my
Yeah,
fault.
it's their fault, right? The VFAMM, we've shared a lot of things together, like with Andy and the devotionals, 75 hard and stuff like that. But it, when you read stuff like that all the time about not making excuses, I don't want to say if it's a chip on my shoulder, but like, it definitely, I don't use it as an excuse to treat my son or my daughter a different way. Right. It kind of makes me see it in a more of a godly way and more of like a happy kind of side of it instead of more of like neglect of what I had.
Mm.
And it's weird to explain, but it makes me want to be that much better for my kids. So
Hell yeah.
if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
No, I mean, yeah, it's a good way you put it though, like a godly way. It's just like this is my role as the man in my household to be a father to my kids. It doesn't matter where your dad was, if he was present, if he was not present, none of that. You know what I mean? It's just like you reflect on your relationship with God, and the expectations of a godly man is to be this role model in the household, and you embrace that instead of where I took it was, do you have a chip on your shoulder of like, I'm not going to be that guy. I'm going to be something else because whatever. You know what I mean? Like you said,
Yeah.
people use
Yeah.
an excuse. No, that's cool,
Yeah.
man. I respect that. I respect that a lot.
Yeah. No,
Cool.
it gets deeper. You get that.
So you mentioned, so we got to talk about it now for the listeners. You mentioned VFAMM. We're going to take a deep dive into it later, but just for the listeners that are like, what the hell is VFAMM? What's VFAMM?
VFAMM, so it's is a group of 8 of us, I think. I don't know the number. I
Mm-hmm.
can say all the names. Man, it's, and I'll keep it short because I know we're gonna dive deeper into it later on. But the VFAMM is a group that you coordinated actually, based off the original intent behind it was, hey, how can we, you know, expand Corley's wishes and Discord, the vigilantes, like that's the reason why you created it, was to, hey, what can we do together to get more people involved and stuff like that. But what it
50. It was out from it was from the V90 straight into the V50, and like trying to get guys engaged more into the program. And I reached out to you guys because you guys were the most involved vigilantes in the program. I'm like, hey, we got to pick this up because V90 was
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
And then I was like, V50's not getting it.
Yeah. I don't think, and I know Corley said it before, but I don't think that the V50 will ever have the same effect that the V90 created. But the reason why me and you got cool and the VFAMM got cool was because of the V90. But like where it is today, where the group has taken us to today, man, and you can agree, it's been pretty special. I know it's
Yeah.
even for yesterday, as an example of the message we got, it just goes to show how special that group is and what we will do for each other. That means so.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, shout out to Joe Gavita, Dylan, the Godfather Josh, John Velez, Cody Brooks, the love that guy. And then
Yeah, yeah.
Greg, man, big Greg, big ass.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, of course you. So it's a special group. To this day, the impact that group has had on me has changed me pretty good.
Yeah, you know what's crazy is we're all firefighters, but I'd say 25% of our conversation is about firefighting. The rest is about, you know, a family, having kids, smoking cigars at night, you know what I mean? Just kind of just enjoying each other's company because we're all like-minded, and any problems that we have, whether that's in the fire service or in our personal life, we bring it to the group and we all talk about it and help each other through.
Yeah,
It's pretty fucking
yeah,
badass, dude.
it's dope,
It's
man. It's
badass.
dope as shit.
Yeah. Well, like we both said, we're gonna dive deep into that. We're gonna bring them back in, but let's talk about your firefighting journey. You got 12 years in the fire service. What was your journey getting into the fire department?
Man, so when I was a little kid, it was either fireman or a cop. I have a picture of me in elementary school for career day, and I'm dressed up as a cop, man. I got the freaking helmet on, got the badge. Dude, I look goofy as shit. I'll probably upload it on my Instagram later on so everybody can see what a goofball I look like. But it was one or the other, and I don't know what it was that drew me to that. I know for sure that fire trucks alone, to this day, man, I break my neck all the time for fire trucks. I see one drive by. The lights have always been cool to me, and it's like I said, it was either one or the other. How I got in it, so I never had a plan to be a fireman. I just knew that that job attracted me. Same thing with the cop. I think most firemen will agree that I definitely chose the right decision to be a fireman over a cop,
Yeah,
especially in
cops will
today's
tell you
world.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it both honorable. I mean, don't get me wrong, but I was working at an office job, typical 9 to 5er, and our local college by my house started offering fire academy school, and I didn't think twice. I didn't nothing. Didn't know what to expect. Didn't know what like at all. I just saw firefighting, and here's a class. I signed up for it, and then God led me where He wanted to lead me, and it was 9 months of fire school. I know a lot of people today, for convenience, they like to do the .com way, the .commerce online, but I think that in person for 9 months, I got a taste of the shared suffering, as Sparrow would say. It creates that bond together, right, for 9 months, because you show up every day and it sucks, dude. Like you just it's work, right? And
yeah.
then I became a fireman. Well, I'm glad I did that first, because if I would have did the EMT portion first, in the state of Texas, you have to be an EMT basic to be a paid firefighter. I would have probably gave up. So I'm glad it was fire first and then EMT, because the EMT is definitely it's hard, man. It's hard. So and then
Wait,
I've been
you're not the guy that worked at a private ambulance company and got tired of parking
never,
in front of gas stations, so you decided to
no,
join the fire department?
never,
What?
never.
That's
No,
crazy.
no,
That's like 70% of our hires now.
no, no, nope. Every time I'll talk about transporting people and uh patient care. I mean, we do all that too, but we don't transport, man. We don't transport. I don't ride an
When we start
ambulance. I
talking
don't
about
will.
that paramedic shit, all the
Yeah,
paramedic stuff, you're
yep,
like,
yeah. That's when you see me pretty silent on that group, because I don't know what the fuck y'all are talking about half the time. Especially Cody. Cody's bitch ass. That guy, man. Jesus. He's probably
he
taking a
loves it
test
too, man.
today.
Yeah. Cody on the box. Cody on the
Yeah.
box. Hell yeah.
But yeah, it's that's how I started. I signed up, and then I went on from there, and I've stayed at one full-time department this whole time. I worked at, part-time gigs at other places, where, you still get some experience no matter where you work at. And then, yeah, that's how it started.
Nice, man. So you promoted pretty early though. How long were you a firefighter before you actually promoted?
So I got in pretty young. I went to fire school pretty much right out of high school. And so I was in fire school at 19 years old, 32 now. I got, man, it was a very, fairly young department, right? And so I was a firefighter for a couple of years. At the time, we rode up a lot in a position above. So I rode up as a driver for a couple of years. It's weird. So before I promoted to that rank for driver and lieutenant, I was already in that position for 2 years before that, before I officially promoted to that rank. So I was a firefighter for a couple of years, rode up as an EO for a couple of years, promoted to EO, and then rode up as an officer for a couple of years, and then promoted to an officer. So, I mean, I promoted to LT when I was 26 years old. You know what I mean? So within that 7 years, I was a firefighter and a driver for most of that. So it's very young age. I got the but at the time, I mean, what's the department supposed to do, right? Like you got what you got,
Yeah.
and you go from there.
What was your career development like? I mean, was it just all in-house stuff at that time? Were you going outside and getting outside trainings and conferences and shit?
No, most of that was in house. Honestly, we were kind of fortunate. So a lot of departments outside the Houston area have a lot of HFD people that work for them. So
Mm.
we don't, us being young, we don't have those senior guys that teach you everything and lay out the foundation for you as you come in. We get our seniority examples and advice from Houston guys. So our department still has Houston guys that work for us, but at the time we had a lot more, and they were the ones that kind of showed us young guys how to, how to do the job. And it's like that a lot in the Houston area, especially outside, like right outside the city limits. You have a lot of departments that have Houston guys. So I didn't seek any outside training. I didn't know that there was outside training. I only knew what I knew just based off the guys that were there. And I was so young. I mean, I didn't know. I mean, I could barely put together a freaking chainsaw when I first got in. So, those guys taught me a lot, and that's where that effect comes in too, where with the lack of the fatherhood, right? Like your dad's supposed to teach you all these things, how to use tools, and just do things right around the house, how to fix shit, and I didn't have none of that. So I give a lot of credit to the guys that were around me, that were older than me, that taught me, finances and how to do stuff, how to fix stuff, just, how to be a man, right?
Yeah,
And
hell yeah.
so it's that has a lot of effect on me too. But as far as training and stuff and guidance, for a pretty young and small department, we didn't have that. So we did a lot.
Bro,
We
you
trained
hit
a lot, but
yeah. You hit on something that I think is lost in the fire service now, right? Because we get a lot of guys older than us, like Gen Xers, right? The guys that are super salty, bitching about millennials and now the Gen Zers and stuff coming in. But you just talked about from personal experience, right? If the fact that you didn't have someone growing up to teach you things like chainsaws and mechanics and tools and things like that, and you get into the fire service, there I'm not saying this happened to you, but currently the trend in the fire service is like these guys got no experience coming in, can't change a tire, they're all worthless. It's like, bro, like for one, you don't know my perspective. You don't know what my upbringing was like. You're right, I can't. But please, Mr. Salty Fireman, teach me this stuff. We're losing that mentorship, I would say, in the fire service, and we're just kind of just talking shit about one another on this generational gap versus like, hey man, you don't know how to start a chainsaw or put together a chainsaw? I got you. Like we need more of that. And it sounds like you did have that though.
we did, and they never made us feel that way. They never were like, "What the fuck? You didn't," you know what I mean? Like they probably thought that, like what the fuck? This guy don't know how to, you know what I mean? But they never made me feel like this small, right? They're just like, "All right, well, let's go show you." You know what I mean? Like, and you just go out there and you learn, right? And then you just take it from there.
Yeah. So now that you're the promoted guy, is that something you're carrying over as the company officer? Like what does that look like when rookies come into your house? What does mentorship and leadership look like from your seat?
Well, so man, as an officer, let's see, I've been an officer since 2018, so 6 years. Man, I didn't start feeling like I had my little own groove until 5 years into that position. If I'm being honest, it takes a lot to just you don't just show up on your first day. And then too, it was kind of weird because I was already in that position. So when I promoted into it, besides me getting a new crew, the guys they already had me as an officer, right? So they kind of knew how I somewhat operated. But like I said, I didn't start feeling like I had a little groove until 5 years into the, and I'm still, every year I get a rookie, or when I do get a rookie, my expectations that I provide them change. I mean, because I changed, right, as a person. So
Yeah. Hell yeah.
what I thought was important for this rookie is not important to me anymore for this rookie. Right now, I have something else that's more important for this rookie. And I've told the guys that have been under me before, where it's like, man, I wish I had given you all this stuff, but at the time, I didn't have that mindset or knowledge or experience. So with each rookie that I got, man, I did get better, right? My expectations got longer, not to like override it or anything, but I would remove a lot of stuff that I would read again. I'm like, this is kind of stupid. Let me take that out and then put this in, right? And then, the rookie before my previous one, or the one that I have now, man, his first day, he taught me something. He taught me and my driver something, to be honest with you. He's checking out the truck and, we're going over the tools and stuff. And, he kind of did something with the K-12. And I mean, I'll be the first person to tell you, I didn't fucking know that. You know what I mean? I forgot what he did, but he did something with the K-12 and me and my driver kind of looked at each other. So what the hell are you doing? And then we're like, didn't even know that fucking thing was even there. Right. And I mean, we could have easily been like, don't, we're not gonna tell him, you know what I mean? So we just called him over here and we're like, hey dude, like, and what do you think that did for that guy? Right? For him on his first day, one, he either thought, okay, I got some fucking dumbasses for leaders, or they're not gonna be afraid to tell me if they don't know something, right? And so I flat out told him right then and there, like, dude, you just taught me something. I never fucking knew that. And I was cool with it. I don't care. You know what I mean? So but yeah, it's definitely a position where it just constantly changes. I don't have an exact method of how I do things with rookies. I provide their expectations. I kind of get to know them as a person. I don't treat them like shit. I try to be stern, but I don't treat them like shit. And I try to make my crew as a whole feel like, hey, when I'm serious, I'm serious. But at the same time, like that guy's first day, right? Like I might need him for me to be able to go home with my family that day. Vice versa. He might need me to
Mhm.
go so he can go home to his family that day. So why am I gonna like treat this guy like shit or not get to know who he is as a person? But in 5 minutes, that guy can save my life for, somehow, some way.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah.
I like how you embrace that as a company officer, right? That shows that you have humility of not just having this like basic watered down template that you give to every rookie and you're like, these are my expectations and you need to abide my expect blah blah blah. No, you get to know that individual, what their character is like, what's their skill set that they're bringing to the table, can they teach you something? And then you tailor your teaching mentorship to that individual,
Mhm.
right? Like if you got
Yeah.
someone that came out of his mom's basement yesterday, you got a lot of work to do, right? If you get some dude that's a plumber and an electrician, hey, show me everything, right? Because you got more knowledge than I do, right? I like that. I like that approach, dude. And yeah, I don't hear that from a lot of company officers, unfortunately.
Yeah, dude, I've seen both bad and good, right? I've seen officers treat their rookies like shit. I've seen officers treat their rookies like too good, if I'm being honest, right? Like there's no like earning, like that whatever the another term for earning. They don't earn that. They just give it to them. And it's like, nah, dude, like you are going to go through the same thing that this guy went through, that we all went through. That way, so like, for example, our rookies, they, for a whole year, they don't get any of our shifts, shirts, patches, coins, like
Mm,
their gear locker plates, and then they don't get none of that stuff. They get whatever the department's provided to them. Because if I were to give them that on their first, and we've had some officers do that, right? And then those guys are gone within 4 months, and they regret giving them that stuff, right? Because that stuff means something to us. But when they earn that, or they come into work after their probie year and they see their name on their locker, or they see the C shift shirt on their bed or whatever, I give it to them. Like you can see the look on their faces. They're like, oh man, like, they
hell
just feel
yeah.
like they're part of the crew, right? And then I have a different method for the butt plate. So when the guys get their new gear, a lot of officers don't give them their butt plate because they feel like it's something they got to earn. And I thought about it. I'm pretty sure I got it from a conference that I went to, but I didn't. I used to be that guy too, where it's like, all right, we're gonna hold on to your stuff, whatever, until you make that year. But like, who am I to tell you you can't wear your last name on your gear, right?
Mm.
And because I'm sure you're proud. I'm sure your family's proud. And here I am, like, hey, you can't wear that. That's your name, dude. Like, and then two, we came across a problem where we're on the fire ground, and Ricky didn't have his butt flap on, and nobody knew who he was.
Yeah, right.
And so they were like, hey, who is it? And then so that happened, and it kind of changed my mentality on that. So now as soon as their gear comes in with their butt flap, here you go, man. This is your name. Bro. Where
Dude, I love that. The great message of, hey, I can't take your name from you. That's your name. You deserve to have your name on your gear because you've earned that. You've carried that this far into your early career. But then you make them earn the name of your department and their name on a locker, right?
yeah,
That's great. Yeah, I love that. And I love the butt plate thing because, watching college football, I'm a USC fan. They don't put the names on the jerseys. I think Alabama does that, Penn State, all that. Certain departments. I'm like, who is that? Like, I don't know
yeah, dude,
which
yeah,
player that was. Who just made that
yeah.
tackle? Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
that's funny,
Watching
man.
Yankees do it, watching them get their ass whooped last night. You don't know. I mean, you know who they are just because who they are. But it's. I want to
Yeah,
see, especially in professional sports and sports in general. I want to see my name on my shit. You know what I mean?
yeah. Well, when you play the Dodgers, you got to cheat like the Astros so you can beat them in the World Series.
Yeah, you gotta. There you go. There's some Astro swag in the back. I knew you were
You're
gonna
never
bring
gonna
that
live
up.
that down. Yeah, you're
No,
never gonna
no,
live that
no.
down, bro. Every time we talk about baseball, I'm like,
I'm just glad y'all can finally win a championship with a full season and not a 60 game season.
asterisk COVID season.
Dude,
Yeah, no,
yep.
dude. I think the Lakers won that year too, and I'm like, that shit don't count. You can't win during COVID
No,
year.
no, no.
No, you're right, but they haven't won yet. I mean, who knows? Who knows what can
Man,
happen?
if y'all blow it, you will never hear the end of me talking shit to you because there's no way y'all can blow that, dude. It's
Right?
just like given to y'all.
Yeah. It's never happened yet in World Series history. It's never happened. But there's already been a bunch of records broken in this World Series, right? First walk-off grand slam, first single pitch closer, some shit like that. Yeah,
Man, they come up
who
with
knows, dude?
any stat they can come up with. I saw them post Otani's first at bat. It was a fucking fly out. Like, who cares? Yeah.
Yeah, they need to get
But
Aaron
yeah,
Judge a tennis racket or something though, because he is fanning the crowd.
struggling.
Aaron Judge struggling. Thank you, Aaron Judge, the best Michigan win MVP, Dodgers MVP for the World Series. All right, let's get back on topic, brother. All right, so company officer, we talked about earning it, but you also talked about having tradition and recognizing your crew, right? As a company
Okay.
officer, what are some examples of carrying over traditions or creating traditions in your firehouse?
Man, so one thing I do for my rookies whenever they get done is, and I got made fun of for doing this. I got a lot of shit for doing this. I had firemen come up to me about this shit. But so what I do
Weird.
is, I like to give my rookies. I try to think of something like, all right, if this guy, were to leave our department and he went somewhere else to better his career, whatever, right? Let's say he left. I I would want them to have something from us as a crew, to kind of let him know, like, or just to remind him, like, of their personal accomplishments, the impact that he had from us. So what I do is, I got on Etsy, try to think of something that I would have wanted. I ended up finding, it's a small little wooden axe, and the axe, it's got our ship patch on it. It's got, what I ended up doing was to make it more personal. Is I had each guy on our crew sign their name on a piece of paper, like their signature, and that is lasered onto the axe along with the patch. It has their name, and it's got like the paracord, fancy stuff. It's a small little, little baby axe, and I give it to them at the end of their probationary period. So I do that. And man, the other officers were like, dude, look what you started. Like, I got my fireman coming up to me, like telling me, where's my fucking gift and and I didn't do it to piss people off. Obviously, I didn't do it for the only reason why I did that and who I did it for was for that rookie, right? Like, hey, here's our names. It's from us as a crew. Here you go, man. Just for them to have something, right? And so now I think I've had 6 rookies as a better officer. Um, and I'm gonna brag a little bit, but they are all still with the department, so I feel pretty good about that. I know a lot of our uh, I don't want to just say our officers, but I'm sure a lot of departments where they have a high turnover rate with their rookies, right? Um, and so I'm glad that they're all still there, right? And it's pretty cool to kind of see, where some of those guys, a lot of those guys are promoted now. So it's pretty cool to see, where they end up in the department. But I do that. we started another little tradition. So on Sundays we eat breakfast for dinner. It's we're just trying to change it up a little bit. So now we make breakfast for dinner on Sundays. I am not with my current crew right now. I'm currently riding up in a position, so I have a different crew. But I get along with everybody on our shift. So it's we know our department's pretty small, so I know this guy's pretty well. But those are the couple things I do. A lot of what the service does is bumper time, right? We go to the bumper, have coffee, talk, chill, hang out in the bays. That's not really a tradition, but it's just, I think, a common thing that people do. But as far as personal traditions go, I give those rookies some axes and then breakfast for dinner on Sunday.
Bro, the back of the bay culture, I mean, that I think that is a good tradition because there are certain departments that don't even allow like furniture or anything in the bays, right? Because of the diesel exhaust that could create enhanced cancer risk and things like that. So I mean, there are departments, including my own, that don't really encourage any kind of back of the bay hangouts or anything like that. So I mean, I would say that is still a tradition. That's like old school firefighting, like firehouse, and what is it? The page back of the bay. Like they actually literally
Yeah.
post pictures of some awesome setups. I'm super
Yeah.
jealous when we have that. You know what I mean? So I would consider that a tradition for sure.
So our department wasn't really against it. But one shift did try to do it, and man, I thought the couches looked like shit. So I'm like, man, like it was kind of like, hey, all right, we got to get rid of this shit. Like it doesn't look good. You know what I mean? So we kind of missed our opportunity, but I do understand what you're saying is a lot of people just don't, it's not allowed whatsoever. But, and then, obviously hanging up the pictures on the wall. Well, each shift at that station has their own wall, and their patch and stuff, and it's been pretty cool. Porter has changed a lot as far as when it comes to pride from each shift. So we're not big enough like these major departments to where a house has their own patch, right? So like what we did was each shift made their own patch, and so it's been pretty cool to be to be allowed to hang up our shift flags, have them up in the station as patches, our pictures of all of our crews and stuff that we do together as a whole, right? And it's cool seeing everybody's pride come together at the station. So it's great.
No, I love that, man. And you already know my story about the breacher crew and how that did not work out very well in my department. So it's cool that your department embraces that and you guys got shift pride.
So
I mean,
I'll say this. So there was one guy that tried to do a shift patch, or not a shift, a department patch, right? And it did not go good whatsoever. Kind of like your situation. It just did not go well. So what that did, and dude, I always tell people, you can give everybody $1 million in this world. Someone's gonna fucking bitch about it. Someone's gonna bitch about it. So
yeah.
it
$1 million doesn't go as far as it used to these days. So what's $1 million?
someone's gonna
Yeah.
complain, right? Yeah, someone's gonna complain. So you could create the perfect patch. Someone's gonna bitch. So, but I give it to him, man. He tried. He tried. He tried that pride. He probably started the reason why we even have patches now for each shift, right? So I'll give him that. But he tried, and so I was just I sent him a message. I was just kind of honest. I was like, look, man, I don't think no matter what you do, someone's not gonna be happy, right? So but I thanked him for the effort, right? Like, hey, like I'm glad you started something, right? And then you got some conversations going. And I think what he did was help speed up the process of each shift doing their own thing. And then, and we all included our, LODD of our department. So everybody has Gary Staley on our patch somehow. It's got Porter on it. We still involve, the department and stuff and what we as an organization mean and kind of come together. But each shift has their own little touch on it. So.
Yeah. In your own words, because we're talking about pride and ownership, right? Like firehouse culture, shift culture. In your own words, I mean, how important is that to you? Like being
Man,
able to do that.
it's very important, right? You come into work, one, you're excited, right? Like, and then we work at 4896, so we live there, right? We have our own routine. We come in, to work, and as everybody does, comes in and does what they got to do. But the pride, it's you live there for 2 days, man. Like I want to enjoy being at work, right? Like hanging up the flags. I took the idea from Rick Lasky's book, Pride and Ownership, where it's got the family wall. Took my wife's little freaking camera, whatever that prints out the pictures right then and there. I forget, Polaroid camera. Took that up
Polaroid.
there. Yeah, I took that up there. That when we walk by or we had visitors at the station, they see like, it's not just a college campus. It's people actually live here, right? That's also in our expectations, right? And that's one thing I did as a crew. It's like, hey, this is what I wrote. If you feel like you can add something to it or change it, here you go. But a small thing in there is some of our firehouses are used as backends. So whenever we have a working fire in our district, we get backends that come into our stations to run our calls, vice versa in the whole county. The whole county is operating the same way. But it's in there. It's like, man, our station should be kept in a presentable manner at all times. Like these guys, because I mean, when I go and back in somewhere, I I do the same thing. I look around, see how they kind of have everything organized, how they set up their equipment, their whatever, their hose, like this is the way their station is. Like I walk around and I just like, oh, that's fucking cool. I never even thought about that. Look at their kitchen of how they, whatever, right? Whatever it is that catches my eye, I do the same thing. So I know that when people come to our house, they're gonna think the same thing. Like if I walk in and there's just shit everywhere and all the trash is full and blah blah blah, I'm gonna judge, man. So, I think it's very important to show that pride and ownership. I get made fun of for putting tire shine on our expectations. I did it as a joke because everybody always fucks with me about it. But tire shine on the tires, make sure don't forget about it. You know what I mean? Like I like our shit looking good. So and
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and then it's one of those things where it's like when we come in and the truck's dirty, like we're gonna wash it. I'm not gonna
Nice.
I don't like washing trucks on our second night because it's like you're washing it for the next shift. Like it was dirty for your whole shift, and now you're gonna have it clean for the like. Nah, dude. If that shit's dirty, let's get it cleaned up and let's to show that pride.
Nice. Yeah, it was what was it? Dale Jenkins was on the scrap last episode, right? And he talks about when he goes into another department's firehouse, he'll go straight to the hose rack, and he'll look at the organization of the hose rack. Do they have pride in just simple things like that? And I think he even said sometimes, like one time, he walked up to a firehouse and saw that it was all jacked up, and just left before he even talked to anybody. Bro,
yeah, that made me go check the hose rack after I heard that episode. I was like,
yes,
make sure
dude, me too. Me too. But you know what's even harder? You know what's even harder when you don't have that culture and you try to be the one to change that. And when you go up to your crew, and you probably experienced this early in your career of like, hey boys, our hose rack needs to be dialed in. I want red, white, blue in that order, and I want the couplings all facing the same way, da 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 da. And they're like, get out of here with that, bro. No one else does that. We're not doing it. If you want it done that way, you go do it. It's such an uphill battle in some departments, right? Obviously, what we're talking about, pride and ownership, it gives you just a little bit extra than anybody else in any other profession.
That's where you just go through it, man. Like the officer that I had when I was, a driver, he did a lot of things that I didn't like at first. And then little by little, I noticed that I was starting to do the things that he liked. And then now I like that stuff. You just I don't know, it's weird, but like it took him just doing it, right? Go and preach about why. I mean, he did on certain things, but like he just did things. And then like I catch myself doing the same thing where I just like, instead of waiting for somebody to do something to fix something that I see that I don't like, I'm just gonna go fucking do it, right? And I think that says a lot more. It will say a lot more to that rookie walking around that's been busy all fucking day, seeing another guy in rank just go and take care of something, or whatever. It's not a big deal. And that's one thing I tell my crew too when they come into work. It's like we're not gonna bitch, man. Like if we come in, our shift starts at 7. That is our truck. That's our equipment. Unless it's a safety issue, something with our equipment, or y'all come in and something's just outrageous, just not normal, and where you got to call that previous shift, like, hey, we found this, like, what's up with this, whatever, right? Cool. But other than that, like, if it's just something that you can fix, and I tell the guys all the time, if you can fix it right then and there, we're just gonna take care of it. We're not gonna bitch about it. We're just gonna take care of it. It is what it is. Move on.
Yeah. You know what's a trip, bro? Is that petty bullshit you see in a firehouse, right? I came into shift one morning, and the shift before us, there was a bunch of weights laying around the gym, right? There was an Olympic bar with weights on it and a bunch of plates on the floor. And they passed on to us, hey, we came in like this, and the previous shift before us left this shit on the floor. So we left it for them to clean up next time they come back in. I'm like, what the fuck is that? Why would you? why are you playing these petty shift war games, dude? Like, they might have got a call, they might have had a structure fire, they were gone or something like that, and they forgot about it. So what, bro? That's not like you said, it's not a safety issue. Pick up the weights, and
You know
you
what that
should have
does
been
though?
working out anyways.
Yeah. But you know
What's
what
up?
that does? It makes people that aren't petty become petty. Like, all right, motherfucker, you're gonna do
Yeah,
that to us? Like, well, let me fucking now you're gonna make me go and look for something that I normally wouldn't even care to look for because you want to be a cocksucker. You know what I mean? Like, and so then we've all done it. We've all done it. I've done it. I mean, every fireman
yeah.
has done the dumb shit that we've all done. But you just, I don't know, part of our how we get along.
Well, dude, the firehouse banter and gossip, it's so appealing to just sit around and just motherfuck everybody. You know what I mean? Like, it's a toxic trait, but we're like a high school football team, man. We just gossip all the time. Who's dating who, all this. It's weird.
We're our own therapists if you think about it. You know, if I walked into a firehouse and I worked let's say a random fire department I've never even whatever. I walked into a random firehouse and I'm with them the whole tour and I don't hear one complaint. I'm gonna think they're weird as fuck. Like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? We all do
Yeah.
it, man. We all do it. So it's fun.
And the, if people knew the conversations we had before and after the call, right?
Yeah,
Like,
see,
you're going on a lift assist and you're reading the notes and you're like, oh my God, they're covered in their own feces, and then the conversations that come from that. But then as
I
soon as you get out
I
of the rig,
said
whoop, like,
I said all the time, dude, if we had a mic in our fire trucks, people would hate us. They would fucking hate us. But hey, we still show up and do something, right? We still try to help out where we can and make a difference. But yeah, if they heard those conversations, yeah, dude.
that's actually a psychological coping mechanism. I forget. It was like, I don't know if it was Jordan Peterson or somebody like that, right? They were talking about dark humor in first responders in the military. Like, you have to have that to cope because of the stuff that we see, right? There's no one else. There's no other profession that's walking into someone's house and picking up someone that's 300 pounds covered in their own feces. You know what I mean? There's no one else
No,
doing that. We
no,
have to cope with that. We can't go to our neighbors and be like, "How was your day?" Oh, my
yeah,
day involved this.
yeah.
No,
And it's the only profession where you're on a call like that and you can still talk about dinner, right? As it's happening. You know what I mean? Like,
laughing
yeah,
about it during dinner.
yeah.
Yep,
But
absolutely, man.
but we got to be careful, right? Like, there's times where we're on those type of calls where when you're there long enough to kind of think like, all right, this is kind of weird. Like, there's death around me, families losing their minds, whatever, right? And sometimes, like the crew or me, like we'll say something and it's like, oh shit, I should have said that. Or like, I can see
Yeah,
how sometimes the public can view us as where we're not sympathetic or we're a bunch of like fucked up individuals. But every now and then I gotta self check myself. It's like, all right, like let me. I'm just so used to it though. It's kind of hard, but
yeah.
it's
No,
fun.
it's tough. It's tough for sure, man. And I've definitely caught myself slipping on every now and then. But that's where the accountability piece comes in, where someone's like, "Hey, bro, like, don't say that next time."
Stop that shit. Or
I
just
got
like,
you. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Look in the background. Hell yeah, man. You know what we're touching on a little bit, and I want to jump into our next topic is basically brotherhood, right? Like, we talked about, we go on calls that no one else experiences. We live in a firehouse for 48 hours with one another. There's not a lot of professions that do that other than the military. I mean, you've witnessed different levels of brotherhood, whether that's inside of your own firehouse or outside at a conference. Talk to me about witnessing brotherhood in your career.
well, I can talk about the most recent experiences I've had. So one that I can think of real quick is Dagum. So I went to Dagum. I was only able to go to the lecture series. I couldn't do the skills stuff, and so man, they did do a pretty cool. I call it like the Texas way. What they did is they had all the instructors come meet up before it started at Tom's place, Alex, and
Mm-hmm.
big property, nice property, and just had a big Texas barbecue, had a band. Where it's Texas way. We're very welcoming, invited all the instructors over there to hang out, chill, just have a social night for instructors. And Fluger invited me to go, so I was like, man, I gotta go, dude. Like, and Rob was one of the guys that I've been wanting to meet for, you know, ever. One, our last names attract each other, and yeah. So when I first met that guy, we hit it off pretty fucking fast, right? And so, but he brought his name is Robert Ortega. part of his cadre and stuff. And when I first looked at that guy, I was like, man, this guy looks like a freaking mafia guy. I was kind of like, man, this guy looks kind of intimidating. And when I got to know him, man, dude, super just down to earth, more like just, I talked to that guy to this day. I actually spoke to him on the phone yesterday. Anyway, so I just met this guy, right? Met this guy. We hit it off, had a conversation. I tell him about my family and that we're expecting a baby girl. And man, that dude, so he started talking about Cuban coffee. Never had Cuban coffee in my life. Never, So he was like, hey, I'm gonna send you something and follow those instructions, because if you don't, you're gonna hate yourself. All right, cool. And not that I didn't believe him, but how many times do you run across people when they say like, hey, hit me up, man, I'll blah blah, I'll send you, whatever,
Yeah.
and it never happens,
Yeah.
right? So he took my number, took his number, and he's like, hey, I'm gonna mail you some stuff. And so, man, I was just expecting some coffee, to be honest. And he sent everything. He sent me cups, freaking like, just to share with the crew, multiple things of coffee, instructions of what to do, how to make it. Send me like a link to like a video of him explaining how to do this. And
Shit.
not only that, I think it was around my birthday. Sent me a birthday card, sent a onesie for my daughter, just a bunch of stuff, man. He sent me a big box and just like a huge package of stuff, and wrote like a little letter. Gave me a patch for his apartment, a coin, like all kinds of stuff, man. And I had just met this guy that day, so that's what the brotherhood does. You meet people, you go to different conferences, you network, and it just creates these relationships that you just didn't know you needed, right? I think we've all been through difficult times with our careers, our spouses, have had those difficult conversations, and we all need those people to show us a different perspective, or those guys to tell you, like, hey, you're fucking up, bro. Like, you're
Yeah.
fucking up. You know what I mean? We've all worked with each other long enough to see what other people do to mess up their lives, and it's really easy to fall into that trap. And so I think the brotherhood, where that comes in, is meeting different people that offer that to you, right? That you need. Same thing with firemanship. Like, firemanship was based off of just God, a lot of God. And, I know we're going to speak on it later with the VFAMM and stuff, but like, I've been diving into the word again and actually learning who God is and what he's about. But what firemanship, what I experienced there is another guy I really looked up to, Sparrow. So John Sparrow and Robert Wynn. So I'm sure people have heard his podcast on Sparrow's Pits of Fire. And so I like to call it fireman struck, not starstruck, but like fireman struck. Like, you hear all these names and you follow all these people on social media. And when you finally like meet them and see them, you're like, holy shit, dude, like it's fucking
Yeah, you're
Sparrow
a
right there.
fanboy.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
man, so what was pretty neat about firemanship was they offered a prayer request. And so it was everywhere. Like, you go to the restroom, there's a QR code, you scan it for a prayer request. They had some signs set up, and so I my heart just told me to do it. So I scan it. It lets you pick. I think there was like 6 people. There wasn't that many people on the list, but it lets you pick if you want to do a prayer request with a certain somebody. And Sparrow was on there, so I chose Sparrow, man. Like, following Pits of Fire, the vitamins for the mind. Who he is as a person, with faith and stuff. Like, he's flagged to the back. I don't know if you can see it, but it that guy has made a huge impact on me.
Yeah.
And being about God and stuff, I requested him. He sent me a text. Hey, are you ready? Like, I got your request. If you want to, meet now, we can go ahead and just meet me on the side and we'll go somewhere and pray. And he's like, hey, do you care if Robert joins us? And I was like, nah, man, I'm not, you know what I mean? And so the brotherhood, this is what it does. It makes a grown man go talk to 2 other grown men. And I'll be honest, man, they started talking about what I was feeling, what I've been dealing with, what God's been doing to me, and the stuff that I've been holding on to, stuff that I'm not proud of. And I started crying in front of these 2 grown men. Start crying. And John sitting there listening. Talk about a listener. You know what I mean? Like, it's to see his podcast be done in person. Like, you can really see how special that guy is when it comes to just being able to listen, right? And Robert, I just met that guy. You know what I mean? Here I am being vulnerable, exposing myself. I didn't care. And it made me just, but it's brotherhood, but at the same time, it's God too, right? Like, God's doing that. And so,
Yeah.
I got to experience that. and firemanship. It was a lot of God and brotherhood over there. And then obviously the most recent one was the Castillo's conference. When we all found out as a department, when I got that phone call about Castillo, I broke down, man. I broke down. The first thing you think of is the guy's kids, his family, how young he is, and it's some sad shit, if you think about it. Like, and I thought about my kids, like, damn, like I can't imagine looking at my kids and just have that feeling like, damn, I'm not gonna get to see them. Who knows when's the last day I'm gonna get to see them, right? So every day, every hour you have with them, that might be the last, however long wants you to have, right? But the special thing about Castile was the conference, man. So like there was a lot of for it to be done in that amount of time frame and how fast it got done. But the results from it, man, that was true, right? Everybody coming together that fast, and in the time of year that they did it, it was super hot here, and which was to their point. They knew that it was going to be hot, so they knew that whoever was going to show up was going to be ready to put in work, right? And that's what Castillo wanted. Castillo's like, because I didn't realize that all the skills that we did was all based off what Castillo wanted. They asked Castillo like, hey, what do you want us to teach, right? It was all under Castillo's control. Like, what do you want us to teach? And so he all the skills we did, it was all things that he wanted us to do, that he felt like was important to the fire service, stuff that he was very, very good at. So that was pretty cool. The amount of money they raised for him. I don't like to really put myself out there, but what I normally do, I've done it for probably 6 or 7 years now. I put together a softball tournament in our county, which ranges around 10 to 14 fire departments, police departments, and the hospital district. And I don't have a 501 nonprofit organization. I've looked into it. It's a lot of to be involved, taxes and paperwork, and I'm pretty lazy, so I like to keep it as simple as possible. And surprisingly, the way I do it is I ask every team if they want to play. Whatever money we raise, it goes back to somebody. So I'll ask everybody. I have like an email list of the departments, and I'll ask like, hey, can y'all think of anybody that can benefit from this money? And so I try to give it back to us, first responders, cops, anybody in our profession or our line of work, medics and stuff like that. And each person has gotten, a medic has gotten it, a cop has gotten it, multiple people, multiple firemen, families of firemen that are no longer here. Like it's to us. I thought about doing it to the public, but I knew that if I open that can, you're going to get all kinds of people trying to get this money, right? And it ranges from $6,000 to 10 grand. Castillo was the most that I've ever raised this past time, which I think he got around 10 grand. But I've always done it for other people. And so whenever we found out about Castillo, man, I knew I was going to do it. Obviously, I can't not do it. Like if I do it for everybody else, how am I not going to do it for one of my, my own people? And so I got a text one day. And it was from one of the team, one of the guys that I'm cool with. He was like, all right, so when's it happening? Everybody knew that I was going to. And so we all mess around and joke around and firemen are firemen and stuff like that. But when it's time to come together to help somebody, especially with that in that situation, you get to see, the work of God kind of come together with brotherhood and sisterhood. I mean, I can't even put it into words of how impressed I was with how they did it, who they brought to be involved in this stuff. And it goes to show, like, I don't want to say who's reliable, but like who actually means what they say. When somebody says, hey man, let me know if you need something. You know what I mean? You hear that all the time, but like nobody ever follows up with that. Right. But to see that in front of me for one of our own, the support that he still gets to this day, and then seeing where he is today, he's doing well, man. He's actually in high spirits. To see him every day at quarter, it's a blessing, that, and it's just nice to see when you get news like that, how you react to it says a lot about who he is as a person. And to get to talk to him every day, still go to work and see him, like it's you gotta cherish those moments, right? Because you just never know when God's ready to call his people home. So there were the last couple of things that I've experienced as far as brotherhood was Castile was the main one, firemanship, stuff like that, and seeing his family be a part of all that. Going to his family's house, eating lunch with them, meeting his mom, his dad, like just being there, right? Like I'm sure that's pretty cool for his parents to see too. Like, damn, like, everybody's proud of their kid being a fireman and stuff, or whatever sibling, family member. Everybody's proud, just like the military and stuff. But like, when you actually see it in person, what their son is around and who they're around, I'm pretty sure that's got to be a feeling that I can't even explain, you know? So, but yeah, those are the recent ones.
Yeah, as a parent, right, seeing the impact that Jesse's made on the fire service, and like you said, like the people that show up, like you know who's who when they actually show up. But I feel like with Jesse's circumstance and because of the person that he is, it was easy for people to just show up. You know what I mean? It's I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't there, unfortunately. I wasn't able to get down there, but I've heard from several firefighters how powerful that event was, you know, and then there's so many other mini events, like 48 Straight did an event at a local gym, right? Powerlifting, and you got the softball tournament. So it's reverberating. You know, you have a Castillo Way conference that went on, but then there's still little micro impacts that are happening because that's what I love about the fire service and people that are actually bought into it, because there's a purpose bigger than ourselves in the fire service and the brotherhood. And that's why we like conferences in the first place, right? Is that we get to surround ourselves with those people that do show up, people that understand the mission is bigger than us. You know, we're here for more than just a paycheck and benefits, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
that's what makes the fire service special.
And to elaborate too on that, it's the impact you make on people too, right? Like if not to talk on the steel, but like if you have a guy that had the same situation happen to him, but this guy was let's say a piece of shit, you really think that they would make the same results that a guy like Castile would have? Probably not, if we're being honest, right? Like, I don't know how to explain that. It's just kind of, it's not, I don't want to say it's not fair, right? But like the impact you make on people depends on that. Like if you go to work every day and you're just a shitbag, then nobody's going to go out of their way to help you if you've been a shitbag this whole time. You know what I mean? So yeah,
Well,
it
it's what we
says a
talked
lot.
about. It's what we talked about like the generational gap and who's stepping up to pass the torch and to teach these people human skills instead of just know your job and do your job, and if you don't, then you suck. You know what I mean? Like it's the whole thing. It's character, mindset, it's personal development, it's the type of person you are in the fire service, right? The fire service is basically just for the end of the job firemen, the people that understand the brotherhood in the fire service as a whole. The fire service is really just a platform for you to be that person. You know what I mean? If you, Michael Ramirez, were, you know, in like a freaking in the healthcare system, like not necessarily a nurse, but like a doctor or something, you would probably be still setting up softball tournaments.
No, yeah,
Or you'd be going to like freaking Peru to fix people's cleft lip or something, right? Because that's the person you are. It's in the fire service, it's just a platform for you to serve. And I think that's what pisses us off so much, when people in the fire service do not have that vision or understanding of the fire service, and they just show up, run their 48, run the calls, and then they go home and they check out until they're back on shift. That
yeah,
drives me
right.
absolutely crazy, and I know it does you too.
Yeah, oh yeah, and we all have them, man. We all have those guys at our departments. And so, but yeah, it's with Castillo, man. It was very, very cool to see what people can do. It will do for you. You know what I mean? So it was special. It was very special to see, especially for his family to witness. Most important.
Yeah. Uh, to build on the just like so, some of those are the most impactful conferences for you, right? Or just events. But what about conferences in general? I mean, when did you go to your first conference?
I'll give another shout out to Chief Ryan Waltz. Man, the first conference I went to was in Florida. I don't remember exactly what year it was, but it was one of Chief Ike's conferences, and I was talking to Chief Ryan Waltz for a little bit, and he's like, "Hey man, I got a ticket if you want to go, for free." And so I was like, yeah, like I've heard of obviously Chief Ike and stuff, and there's a lot of guys at conferences that I didn't know who they were, because I never seeked outside training. I was just one of those guys where like I would go to work, do what I thought was right, and he let me go to my first conference for free. And so drove to Florida, went to the conference, and I didn't know what to expect. I just knew, it was a conference. Got a couple of names I know, a lot of names I don't know, and it really did. I don't want to say change me, but it really it made me see the fire service in a different way outside of Montgomery County, Texas, right? Outside of Houston, Texas. I learned a lot of like, damn, I thought this was I just didn't know a lot of other stuff that happens in the fire service that was outside of Houston or Texas. But went to that, met Corley. I knew who Corley was, but he was, I don't know if he remembers, but he was walking down. There's all the restaurants and stuff and hotels are real close by in Florida. So he was walking down one of those areas and I saw him and I was like, oh shit, that's Corley, And so I stopped him. I was like, hey man, Michael Ramirez, like I know, I'm obviously like, you don't know who I am, but I know who you are. And super chill dude, very, very down to earth. Corley as much as,
Yeah.
anybody does. But gave me his number. It's like, hey, just hit me up, let me know if you want to talk, whatever, blah, blah. And went on from there. But the impact that conference made on me it's just like, it's opening up a whole different side of the fire service that I've never, a lot of the things that I brought back and that I do with my crew now, as far as expectations, certain skills, different, like, just listening to all these guys that have all this experience in their own departments. And you kind of learn, like, we're all around the whole country, but we all have the same problems or deal with the same problems, just different departments. And so you kind of take whatever you can relate to whatever you're dealing with in your career, and bring it back and go from there, right? And so I got a taste of it at that first conference. I got kind of hooked, and then I just started. I mean, I haven't gone to a lot of them, but I've gone to a fair share, and mainly for the relationships you make and build from those conferences alone, right? Like, without that, me and you probably would have never got cool. VFAMM would have never probably got together. It was just based off, meeting people at conferences and stuff. So it's definitely changed the way I see my career and stuff.
Yeah, it's more specifically meeting like-minded people, right? Like, to let you know you're not crazy. The things that we're talking about on this podcast, right? This is a firefighters podcast. This is meant for people that want more out of just what their department gives them, right? And that's what you get at conferences. When you go to your conference and you're like, yeah, I have this individual, da-da-da-da-da. And Drew's like, me too, bro. Me too. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? For real? I thought it was just me. You know what I mean? Or like, hey, this person goes up and talks about like the importance of search, firefighter rescue survey, and where to find victims and staying low and all. And you're like, damn, that changes the game for me.
Yeah.
Before,
yeah.
I was just going into this concrete building, finding a dummy, dragging it out, dropping it outside the door, and then going back in. And you know what I mean? It changes. It makes the fire service and our training and the way we look at things so much more in depth, because we are going to these things to not only better ourselves, but to find people just like us, so we don't feel crazy.
That and it feels good too when you hear stuff that you believe in felt the same, but you just never heard it the way they're saying it, right? So it's like, all right, you feel kind of like validated when it comes to like, okay, I have the same mindset that guy has. I just don't have the experience that guy has. You know what I mean? So it lets you know you're on the right track. But hey, I've also been around firemen that use that, unfortunately, as a vacation to get away from home or whatever, right? Like to go and have fun. Like it's so you definitely, everybody there is not there for the same reasons, but most of us are. So that's what matters.
Yeah. Which brings us to our next topic, man, because we talked it already. We talked about VFAMM. We talked about how we never would have got to know each other, who we are. I started the podcast off talking about iPhone Boy Original, and basically everything that we've done with the group. I'm actually going to pull a Corley on you though, and I'm going to give you the mic for like 30 seconds to talk about. We already talked about starting the VFAMM, but I want you to dive deep, brother, into the devotional 75 hard and cigars, like birthing a child and having this group to lean on and the celebratory things we've done. And I'll give you the mic and I'll be right back.
All right. So and the devotionals with the VFAMM, there's a lot of things that what the VFAMM has done together, man. It's the devotionals is the main thing that's been going on. We've all tried to do 75 hard now twice. It's hard, man. It's hard. There's a reason why it's called 75 hard. If you do it the right way, it is very hard. So, but two guys in the group, they did it. Shout out to Joe and the old big Greg. They did it, man. It was impressive. It was impressive that they were able to do that, right? And then of course all those guys that you probably thought we're going to do it, didn't do it. And it's hard. But the most important thing is the devotionals that we do together, because there's so many out there that you can pick from on that app. We've done, I want to say, at least 10 of them together. We just finished the big one, the 28-day one. But I think that alone is goes to show how much God is working, not only in my life, but in all of our lives together and in the fire service. But the devotionals has made the biggest impact to me because the stuff that we talk about on the devotionals, the stuff that the Bible says of how to be in our lives, how to be like God, how to be in our marriages, how to be for our brothers, sisters, each other. And you read into a lot of these leadership books, a lot of that stuff comes from the Bible, what people get. So the devotionals together to me has been the biggest impact because it's made us have those difficult conversations with each other, open up more, tell each other our secrets and stuff of the stuff that we deal with in our personal lives. There's been a lot of times where I want to say at least each one of us have said like, hey, I'm going through this, pray for me, my family, blah, blah. And then we'll hit each other up on our own, right? I'll send you a message directly, or one of you guys will send me a message directly, like, hey man, like I'm here for you, blah, blah, let me know if you want to talk. And we take that opportunity and we talk, right? We get that out of whatever we're dealing with. But that group that we have, man, it's cool to see that how different we are, right? Like you got Dylan, who's like that little brother that's ready to fight. You know what I mean? Like, who's fucking with you? All right, like let's who's probably gonna take? You know what I mean? Like that's Dylan, right? And how deep that guy gets is impressive. But we're all so different, man, so different, and it's pretty special and cool to see how far we've gotten, how long the group. I don't even know how long the group has been. I mean, we've texted every day for how long? I don't know. It's been
At
a
least
while.
over a year.
It's been
Over
a
a year
while,
at
man.
least, I think.
Yeah. The cigar. So like, we still haven't done it for Greg. We keep trying to schedule that. But when I had my daughter and, I just stood out there, I was like, hey man, y'all want to smoke some cigars for, our little girl? And, I went and bought the It's a Girl stickers cause I remember that whenever I was younger, people would buy like pink or blue cigars for a baby. I don't really see that today. I don't know if it's still a thing, but I know a lot of firemen smoke cigars. But anyway, still like that was cool to me. I think we all did it together. We just all kind of got on there, started smoking cigars. I celebrate our daughter and bitch about our lives a little bit and get it out there, and then we move on. But that was pretty cool. That was very special. But yeah, just the bond that we've created, man. It's been needed for sure because I think we've all been vulnerable at some point in that group, and we all need to be that way, right? So and if any group's going to tell me how it is, I expect it to be the VFAMM for sure.
Yeah.
Tell me straight up, like, hey, you're fucking up. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, it's been cool, man.
Well, I remember you specifically, you brought things to the group about like certain issues with members of your crew. It's like getting up the chain of command and talking about like what you should be doing with that. And then you've also talked about where you're riding up right now, right? Like, and you're like, I don't really want to do it. There's a lot of people encouraging you just take that next step, take the leap, and taking it for us. And then you've actually reached out to me. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, you've actually reached out to me like when I bombed my company officer promotional exam and didn't do well, and like the torment that it did to me because, I am so passionate and a student of this game, and I thought that I would do better, and I did not have a good day. And you just reached out to me just to check in and just to listen to me vent, and I fucking cry and all this other stuff, and that's just, I don't have anybody in my neighborhood or in my department that I can confide in like anybody in our group.
Yeah, same. Yeah. And it's losing my train of thought here. What were we talking about? Did you ask me something?
Well, no, we were talking about you dealing with people in your firehouse and then also riding up.
Yeah, no, the group was the first to tell me to stop being a bitch. You're being a little pussy right now. I was like, no, done. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna like. I mean, I didn't have a choice, but I need that, man. I think we all need that. It's like, hey, you're being a bitch. It's like, all right, cool.
Well, but, and it's specifically you riding up into, because is it captain? Is it captain spot, right? Yeah. So specifically you riding up was at the same time that your family made a decision for your wife to stay home and raise the kids.
Yes.
So we were like, bro, yeah, we were like, I know some of us were just like, dude, this is an opportunity for you to gain an extra income, to step into a higher leadership role. It's going to challenge you differently. And you're bitching about, I don't want to leave my crew. Like, you know what I mean? So we were like, quit being a bitch.
It'd be a bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and we're small. So like, I know my whole shit very well. Right. And so I knew, and I worked with those guys before. So I wasn't going to a shitty crew, but it was just I think the main thing is, and we talked about this before, where you kind of go into things that make you uncomfortable, which is the only reason why you kind of need to do those things, because they make you uncomfortable. Like be on a podcast. It would, I knew that there was way more other guys qualified to ride in that spot, right? And so what I did was just kind of turn the script a little bit. It was like, you know what? As much as I probably don't want to do this, I'm gonna take advantage of it, use that time to learn that role, to see how that role truly operates. Learn more about this crew specifically. And then it would tell me if that opportunity comes to promote into that spot, if I want to do it or if I don't want to do it, right? Instead of just sitting here bitching about, oh, I don't want to do it. Like, nah, let's turn it into a positive thing and see, take advantage of it. Take whatever you can from it, and then everything happens for a reason. So take whatever you can from it, and when it's time to make a decision, make that decision. But now you have some kind of, I guess, data to go off of to truly justify the feelings you have in order to take that spot or not, right? Because you've been working in that spot. So there's that. Which brings me to another little brief thought I had the other day. So how many times in the fire service do you hear the wrong, or you need to promote, you need to promote, you need to promote, you need to promote, right? Like we have the wrong guys promoting, we have the wrong guys promoting.
Yeah.
But I thought about it briefly, but it's like, okay, we as a fire service complain or influence people to promote in spots that don't need to be promoted into, right? But we all complain of the same shit, that we don't have the leadership that we need or want from our organizations, the higher ups, whatever, right? So it's like, out of everybody, why do we push so many people to promote? But that's like the biggest problem that we have as a fire service, is we have the wrong people in those positions. You know what I mean? I thought about that, but yeah, it's still in that spot. I do miss my crew, but I still see them, right? I mean, it's I do miss being on the engine. I'll say that. I'm on a rescuing truck right now, and as much as I enjoy and do truck work, there's a lot of technical stuff involved that I've been training into, learning and stuff, and I don't get excited as much as I do with engine stuff, man. I'm not gonna lie. With the rescue stuff, like it's cool and all, but like it's not. I get way more excited doing engine stuff, But yeah, it's a whole different conversation.
Yeah. It's a good point, though, when you talk about promoting into those positions and trying to get really dialed and solid firefighters to walk away from doing the grunt work to stepping into those roles where there's a little bit more administrative. But you're right, though, because it's either you promote or someone that everyone is dreading to promote gets promoted. And I just thought about this as you were talking. I think the reason why we see that a lot in the fire service, and I'm not talking about yours or department or mine, it's just the things that we've heard on other podcasts or at other conferences, is that the wrong people are getting promoted. And this is just my opinion. The wrong people are getting promoted in those positions is because those people are willing to just go to their room and study for 8 hours a day and not commingle with the crew and prepare themselves for the written day test, and then the practical, if there is one, of like interviews. They're literally preparing for test day. They're not out doing the job. They're not with the crew. They're not training. They're not developing with everybody. They're not maintaining that pride and ownership in the firehouse or the culture. They're just preparing for a written test. And that's why a lot of people motherfuck the process, because you're hiring a guy based on his numbers, not based on what he's actually done. Like, interview the guy's crew, interview the crew and the people that work with them to see if that person is worth being promoted. Yeah. And like I said, I'm not talking about your department or mine. It's just what I've seen. Yeah. And I'm just for the one chief that might be listening to this passively, we're not talking about you directly. We're talking about the process, right? Like, there's certain processes where it favors the people that are willing to just ignore everything else and pass a test.
Yeah.
And I think that's another issue.
I know we've talked about it before on podcast where there's no perfect process to do that, right? I've been a part of promotional committees or hiring process, where they bring outside people in to do their process to make it fair, and it's I that's when I realized there's no fair process. You either benefit the guy that's really good at handwritten, test taking skills, and then you have guys that are really good at the skills part, but that are terrible at written. I
Mm.
mean, it's
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But and then you have the other side where you gotta speaking up, right? Like as a crew or as a department or as an organization where you speak up, like, hey, like this, people are just so scared to speak up today, like it's because it's gonna backlash or whatever, right? Or get involved in litigation or whatever, right? Like people are just it's a
Yeah.
weird time.
Yeah. Well, people are also caught up with wanting to be liked by everybody instead of doing the right things for the right people, even if it causes you some pain and anguish on the back
Yeah.
end.
And that
People
that
don't want to deal with that.
officer that doesn't do the things you just said, right? The whole crew camaraderie and involvement and stuff, they will feel that later on when they don't do that, right? It's no different than the guy that comes in the first day and it's like, bro, I see how you were as in the rank you are now, and you're gonna come in on this new rank, and you're gonna be your boots are shined, your fucking spread. Like, come on, bro. Like, you ain't fooling nobody.
Yeah.
And the guys
Yeah.
know, the fucking guys know. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But and I'm not saying that you can't evolve as a person or as a company officer. Like, it does happen, right? But you can't just come in on that first day and be whole different
Yep.
guy than you were just last tour, bro. Like, it don't work that way. That shit takes time. It takes time to build your crew up and get that respect from your guys.
Yeah. And another issue, because you said at the beginning of the podcast when you got promoted, it took you 5 years in that position to actually feel comfortable
It took a
and
while.
feel confident.
Yeah, yeah,
That's another issue, right, that we do in the fire service is that, paramedic school is a year-long program. Your probationary period is a year-long program. They have all these development things that all these boxes you have to check. But then once you're promoted, it's like, cool, bro, you're the man. Here's your bugles. Go forth and prosper. Figure it out. And you have to
yeah,
take
dude.
it upon yourself. Yeah,
Yeah, dude. Yeah,
usually there's some departments that have like officer development and things like that, but it's not a common thing.
yeah, yeah. No, and not like if to the organizations that do have that, like I would love to sit in one of their processes just to see if it's like, I don't want to say valid, but like if it would actually work, right? Like for me, you know what I mean? Like if I sat in your officer development class and it's like, holy shit, dude, like 'cause there's a lot that we don't get taught, right? Like naturally, especially being young, like when you deal with the administrative stuff, side of things or disciplinary side of things, like a lot of us don't know how to handle stuff like that because we're just young. We don't know how to do that. And you don't want to do the wrong thing. And then you set a precedence for the future. It's definitely it took me a while. I'm still learning how my personal groove as an officer to this day. I mean, but it definitely took a while for me to feel like, okay, like this is how I want to do things. This is how I kind of want to run things. It's kind of the mindset I want to put on my guys, and the expectations. And I've talked about it. I asked about it on the scrap one time where, like, the one thing I don't like is it makes you me personally a lot because the guys take care of all the shit. I feel like a lazy piece of shit sometimes because they don't let me do anything. Like I want to wash the truck just like you want to wash the truck. Let me take out the trash just like everybody else that takes out the trash. Like I want to still do all that stuff, mop the floors, whatever. Like I want to do all that stuff, and they're quick to fucking take the brush away or whatever I have in my hand. They're very quick to take it away. So it's like, all right, I guess I'll go QC reports,
Check
whatever, right? But
reports.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
But you know what? That's important though. You got to let that happen. As a company officer, right? You yourself want to do those things like wash the rig and do the chores. But when they fight you for the mop or something like that, you gotta let that happen. If you're like, get the fuck off me, I'm mopping the
that,
floor. Well, you take that opportunity away to like just want to show you respect and take that because they're understanding the chain of command and that fact that you've earned that position. And they don't want to see the company officer mopping the floor and now they're walking around like, fuck, now I gotta figure out what to do. I might as well go deep clean the toilets because you know what I mean? So it's like it's a thing that a lot of company officers I've seen like fight, like, no, I can do this. Like, well, we know you can do it, sir, but please let me do that. And good. But the other thing, the other flip side of that though, that I've seen guys don't fight their company officer for a mop or something like that. And I'm like, bro, don't make him do that. Like, go take that from him. You know what I mean? So I mean, that's just me. That's the thing. That's a firehouse. That's a firehouse.
We do it to fuck with him, right? Like if we know like there's one guy that's gonna like try to beat your ass if you try to take that mop away, or one of those old hoods like, hey, go try to get that mop away from this or whatever, right? And it's like just to fuck with them too. But it's just funny to see their faces whenever they get.
I've texted the battalion chief one time, and I was like, hey, LT said he wanted to talk to you, wants you to call him or something like that. And then he'll call the LT while he's mopping the floor. He's like, hey, sir, what's going on? Boom, got the mop, got you. And then I kind of get in trouble. For that. But whatever, by any means necessary. Yeah, we're playing the game around here, dude. We're not. That's another thing that's important, dude. The guys that you got to play the game. If you don't play the game. All right. Anyways, let's rewind. The 75 hard, dude. Do you remember why we started 75 hard?
I don't remember why I think it was you. I think you were the one that.
I suggested it, but Everett's had a freaking stroke at a baseball game or baseball practice.
Yep.
So I forget why, but we were just kind of like, hey, I think we can all be a little bit healthier. We can get after it a little bit more. And I had done me and Velez had done 75 hard before, and we can attest to like that was a game changer for us. So yeah, it was definitely one of those things where like, let's do 75 hard as a group, man, in like honor of trying to get Everett's, a little bit healthier, because having a stroke is nothing small, dude. That's a big deal.
Yeah, that, and we're trying to raise money for next run with that. Yeah.
So we modified it, right? Because like when you do 75 hard as a group, now normally when you don't get a day, when you miss a day, you have to start all the way back to day one. So don't tell Andy Frisella this, but we modified it to where if you miss a day, right? Like you drank a beer that night, or you didn't get your reading done or whatever, you had to make a bitch video to the group, right? You had to go to the group and be like, hey guys, I didn't take a picture. So, and then I forget what the penalty was. I think it was like, initially it was like 10 or 20 bucks or something for any day that you messed up. You had to pay into a pot, and then that pot went into next run for a good cause.
Yeah.
So, if anybody, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say when we started that was during that daggum conference. That was like the first day or somewhere around there. So I was like, fuck, man, I can't. And that's when I first met Velez at daggum. But I was like, damn, I can't even drink a beer. Like I'm sitting here, fuck it, dude. It's Texas barbecue, bad. And I'm over here drinking my fucking half gallon of water because I'm trying to make my gallon for the day. And then me and John, that same night, we hadn't done our second outdoor workout. So here we are walking the parking lot of the hotel at fucking midnight. And then we're like, hey, let's wake up at 5 a.m. Great idea. Let's have 3 or 4 hours of sleep, like fuck it. And we did it, man. We did it all just to fucking fail. But whatever, we did.
No, I think so. The two dudes that got through it were the guys that I wrote off to fail right out of the gate. And no offense, but like Van Ham and Gavita, I was like, nah, there's no fucking way these dudes are gonna finish 75 hard. But fucking they crushed it, man.
Humbled us.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
It just goes to show that you can have an ugly face but still finish 75 hard.
Shit.
Just calling out our boys. Just calling them out. Just fucking guys. But no, yeah. Gavita, who primarily works in prevention, gets more fires than all of us.
No shit.
Because he just jumps fires.
Save some for the rest of us.
Oh man. All right. We're hitting exactly an hour and a half. This has been a fun conversation, at least between the two of us. I don't know if anybody's going to find value, but there's at least like 6 other dudes that are going to listen to this. But as we close out, do you have any final thoughts? I mean, we covered a lot of topics, Steve, but anything that resonated with you the most that you just want to like hit the nail on the head one last time as we close out?
Man, it's find that, so we have a group, right? Find that whether it's one person or 6 or 7 guys like us, even if it's just one, find that person that you can go to be vulnerable with, to expose yourself a little bit, upfront and honest about your mistakes and stuff, and find that person that will one, listen to you, and two, tell you what you need to hear, right? And man, Jesus, for sure. Having God in my life, it's changed me completely. I know my life, how it is without God and how it is with God, and there's a big difference in that. And be who you are as a person. Don't try to be a certain way, or change who you are as a person for somebody else, or to try and impress somebody else. Just stay true to yourself, do the right thing, man, and remember God first. That's pretty much it, bro.
Man, absolutely. Way to close this out and crush the episode 35 on the Relentless Rejects podcast. My friend Michael Ramirez. Everybody out there that's listening to this, please reach out to him. He's going to give you ways to reach out to him and contact him. He felt coming onto this platform that he wasn't worthy of a podcast. So after listening to this episode, let him know. Give him some feedback. He already kind of said like he's willing to take some negative feedback. So let him know what you liked. Let him know what he didn't like. And yeah, Ram, how can people get a hold of you?
Man, I'm on Instagram. You can put my name, Michael Ramirez, or Ramrod15. I'm also on Facebook, same thing, Michael Ramirez. But I mainly stay on Instagram. Facebook's starting to be like kind of a weird advertisements and pages that I don't even follow or whatever, right? It's just a lot of bullshit. But yeah, you can find me on Instagram, man. That's the main one that I'll be on. And if you are taking the time to listen to this, or if you got to this point to listen to it, man, I appreciate it, and hope you got something out of it.
Absolutely. And make sure to share this with like-minded individuals. If you are looking to build a tribe, if you want to figure out how to start a softball tournament for the benefits of other people, reach out to Ram, however you want to do it. I don't know if we're taking iPhone Boys applications, because there's been a lot of people that have tried, and we've been a pretty tight-knit group. So you got to be, for one, you have to have an iPhone. And then
Man, I'll
just kind of
answer that. Not happening. It's the group. Not
all right.
happening.
Closed. All right, we got to start a second group. iPhone Boys 2.
There should be a Droid user that start their own little group to see how far that one goes.
Yeah. Corley and his little flip phone. He can start a flip phone boys crew.
No green bubble ass.
All right, everybody. That'll close us out. We'll see you next week on the Relentless Rejects podcast, episode 36. Catch you next time.